Well, dinosaurs aren't specifically mentioned in the Old Testament, but in the poetic literature and in the prophetic literature, they mention something called Leviathan, which simply means the monster. And now, in some cases, it's something that swims in the sea. It could be a whale. It could be some prehistoric animal. And sometimes it might mean, a dinosaur, who were both amphibious and terrestrial. It's hard to ignore the scientific evidence that dinosaurs existed. I mean, these huge skeletons we find. We were up at the campus outreach Christmas concert in December last year together, and we went to the Smithsonian. These huge Tyrannosaurus rexes and these other dinosaur frames were there. So they did exist. The question is, when did they exist? Did they exist before or after Adam? Well, my belief is they existed concurrently with Adam, because Genesis chapter 1 says that Adam and Eve were created at the same time the dinosaurs were. Why didn't they eat Adam and Eve? Well, Adam and Eve had not sinned. The world was not a dangerous place, and nothing ate anything else. And everything was non-carnivorous. Everything was a vegetarian. Animals ate. And so, I mean, he could in Eden walk up to a dinosaur and pet it on the nose, and it would lick it like a dog. After the fall, things got a little bit dicey, and people say, well, what happened to him? Well, there is geological evidence that the great majority of them were killed in the Great Flood. There are what they call tidal basins in places like Greenland, Iceland, northern Europe, Russia, and places like that. Some in Norway, Finland, where there was huge gouge from glaciers or something, and now there are just hundreds of thousands of skeletal remains of different animals from different places, all in this one basin that's covered with what's called glacial drift, rocks and sand and stuff that goes over them. And the only way they could have been found in there is after the flood, when the water was receding. Water tends to go and carry its debris to a low basin and reside. So all these animals that were on the earth were just literally crushed and drowned by this great effusion of water that broke from above and came up from the ground. Their remains were swept into low places and covered with silt and earth and then later glaciers. And it's pretty good evidence that there were many of them at one time that were killed. So I think there's evidence that they existed, and I think there's evidence that they were killed by the Great Flood. So Noah and his sons and daughters wouldn't have had to deal with dinosaurs after they were coming off the ark. Those that could survive amphibiously, like alligators and things, did. Flood didn't bother them because they lived in the water anyway. Those that couldn't, Tyrannosaurus rex can't tread water for very long, so they drowned and they became extinct.